Creamer Media's Mining Weekly is interviewing Sam Rodder, the MD and CEO of Podium Minerals, an Australian stock exchange listed exploration and resources development company, which is blazing a trail in platinum group metals down under. Last month, Podium's wholly owned Parks Reef Platinum Group Metals inferred resource in Western Australia's Midwest doubled in size to 6 million ounces and flagged up high-grade zones. Sam, can I kick off with this question? When does Podium expect to be producing Australia's first ounces of platinum group metals?
It's a great question, Martin, and we would love to come into production as soon as possible. We're entering our study phases at the moment. We've done conceptual mining and processing on the back of our resource update, and we think we're well placed to construct and enter production within the end of this decade, and we think aligned with what will be a real pinch point around the demand of platinum moving forward. So we think our timing will be impeccable at this rate.
And where does Parks Reef, it seems to be chrome-free, which that has a resonance in South Africa. Where does the Parks Reef ore body rank, do you think, in the world of platinum group metals ore bodies?
It's a great question, and I hadn't thought about it from a world perspective. From our perspective, we think we've got a significantly large ore body. We've got a 15-kilometre strike, which is akin to, I suggest, the Rustenburg type region of the Bushveld. We have an ore body which is up to 20 metres in ore body width, and it extends at depth and is still open at depth below 500 metres from near surface. So with that in tranche and having a great mix of platinum and palladium plus rhodium and iridium, we think we're at the top end of undeveloped platinum-rich PGM mines globally. And I think outside of current operating sites, Martin, I think we're right near the top and the pointy end of our peers.
So what is your sense of demand for platinum group metals? And is supply poised to keep pace with demand going forward?
Oh, Martin, we're seeing supply challenges moving forward in the short to medium term. The ability to bring on new PGM jurisdictions globally is challenging, and as you're aware, I think some of the challenges in South Africa with depth of mining also precludes major increases in production. So we forecast that platinum, particularly along with a larger suite of PGMs, is likely to be in deficit in the coming years.
And what, in your view, will be the demand drivers in the short and medium term?
Yeah, we're pretty confident looking forward that we haven't seen the peak of ICE vehicle production moving forward, and with increasing emission standards, we expect more demand on PGMs for combustion vehicles right through to the end of this decade, and we think there'll be a slower tail off of combustion vehicles heading into the years post 2030. So we think demand will be really strong for PGMs in the existing supply space, but equally we're very positive around the future demand on PGMs for green hydrogen production, hydrogen electricity through PEM electrolyzers, which are heavy users of PGMs, and then the commencement and growth of fuel cell vehicles. So we think the demand will stay strong, and we look forward to seeing what the world looks like in the next 10 years. We think the broader world will really need to start thinking where new sources of PGMs will come from.
We notice you found these high-grade zones. And what is the likelihood of Podium opting for higher-grade mining and processing at Parks Reef to optimize value?
Yeah, it's a great question for us. So, whilst we have similarities to some of the reefs in South Africa and some parallels with Merensky Reef, our total reef package is between 10 and 20 metres wide. But within that reef package, we do have higher grade zones on the hanging wall and footwall side of our ore body, which will enable us for higher grade, higher return and higher margins of our ore body and our project going forward. So for us, having a very long and potentially very deep and large PGM ore body, it's important to start small, start building cash flow and confidence in our PGM operation in Australia before really ramping up and kicking production rates or more marginal ounces moving forward. So in summary, Martin, I think high-grade zones gives us optionality and helps us managing some of the highs and lows which the market still might see in that period of time in the next 10 years.
And we've got one platinum mine coming up here, which is going to be smelterless, which is massive for South Africa because it'll cut the electricity consumption by about 81%. And what would be the advantages of yourselves going smelterless or adopting a smelterless approach to processing of your platinum group metals and base metals?
It's a very timely question, Martin. We've just released our processing update to the market here in Australia, and step one for us was testing whether or not our ore could produce a sulfide flotation concentrate, which we're happy to report it can. But equally, along the lines of a smelterless product, we are also pursuing our preferred processing route, which is using an atmospheric leach process, which is looking at producing a significantly high-grade PGM product with really strong early indications to enable us to really chase higher payabilities of our metal in product, as well as significantly reducing both the logistics cost from the middle of Western Australia to a global PGM refinery. And as you mentioned, the ESG and reduced electrification and carbon footprint on our PGM product should be significantly reduced. So we see three major ticks in that area, and we think Parkes Reef and Podium is well placed to take advantage of all three.
You know, these days we hear a lot coming out of the world and also Australia about green hydrogen electrolyzers and green hydrogen fuel cells. Is it this perhaps that has prompted Australia to declare platinum group metals as critical metals, along with places like the United States, Japan, India, and the Eurozone?
I definitely think that's part of the story. I think globally the world is looking to identify what is its suite of green metals and critical metals to support a decarbonised world, and PGMs being a critical element in electrolyzers for hydrogen production and green and hydrogen energy is significantly important. So I think that's part of the story. I think we've also seen with supply disruptions caused by Russia's invasion of the Ukraine and COVID-related impacts to global supply chains, we're also seeing different continents looking to secure scarce and rare metals. So, you know, I think those two hand in hand, Martin, really focus each of those continents around understanding where they source PGMs from and what alternate avenues there are from existing supply routes.
And PGMs help the world to be a greener place. But how green does Podium aspire to be as an open cast and or underground miner?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think in Australia particularly, but global mining has a duty to significantly consider ESG and cleaner mining moving forward. So heading into the study period, absolutely we'll evaluate the cleanest and greenest options through our study work. And as we head into production, we want to make sure that we consider the smallest carbon footprint possible, as well as engaging other stakeholders along our journey for a broader ESG perspective. So we're excited to come in at a stage where we can influence the outcomes right at the start, rather than inheriting an old mine and rebadging it with that lens. So I think it's hugely important, Martin.
And finally, Sam, what in your view should be the biggest takeaway from this interview?
I think from us is Australia, and particularly Podium Minerals, is well placed to really introduce a new PGM mine to the Australian mining jurisdiction, but also for a global PGM supply in a time where a number of customers and end users are looking for a source of PGM. So we're well placed with a significantly large ore body. We've been able to grow it. We've been able to really progress our processing updates. We're looking at smelterless processing. We have the right team in place. And, I think this is really the start for Podium Minerals, but it's also the start for Australia and Western Australia PGM as a growing jurisdiction moving forward.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly, speaking to Sam Rodda, the CEO of Podium Minerals, Australia's PGMs pioneer.